Have you ever wondered how your favorite store always seems to have that cool new video game console right when you want it? Or how a lemonade stand owner knows just how many lemons to buy on a hot summer day? They aren't using a crystal ball. Nope, they are using something much cooler. It's a science-based process called demand forecasting. Consider it. This is the art and science of predicting what customers will want to buy. It's about looking into the future, not with magic but with data, patterns, and some really smart thinking. It's honestly like a business superpower. Demand forecasting is essentially making an educated guess, but it's a very, very educated guess. Businesses collect information about what people have bought in the past. They look at what's happening in the world right now. They even consider what might happen tomorrow. Then they put all this information together and use it to estimate how many products or services they are going to sell. This helps them prepare. It's a bit like checking the weather forecast before you plan a picnic. You want to be ready for sunshine, but you also want to have a plan in case it rains. Imagine you are running a toy factory. You need to know how many action figures to make for the holiday season. If you make too few, you will have empty shelves and disappointed kids. But if you make too many, you will have a warehouse full of unsold toys. That costs a lot of money to store. Demand forecasting helps you find that sweet spot. It helps you make just the right amount. It's a puzzle, and every piece of information helps you solve it more accurately. Not all products are created equal when it comes to forecasting. Let's consider two different types: standardized products, customized products. A standardized product is something that is the same for every customer. Think of a can of soda, a number 2 pencil, or a basic white t-shirt. The factory makes thousands or even millions of these identical items. Forecasting for these products is usually a bit easier. Why? Because you have a lot of historical data to work with. You can look at how many cans of soda were sold last summer to predict this summer's sales. Forecasting for standardized products is all about history and patterns. Companies analyze past years to find trends and seasonal effects. For example, a company that sells sunscreen knows that sales will spike in the spring and summer months. They can use this predictable pattern to plan their production and inventory. Because they are making a large volume of the same item, they can get very good at predicting demand. The cost of a small forecasting error on a single item is relatively low because it gets spread out across millions of units. Accuracy is high, and the process is very data-driven. Now let's flip to the other side. Customized products. These are items made specifically for one customer. Think of a custom-built computer, a tailored wedding dress, or a piece of furniture designed to fit a specific room. Forecasting for these is a whole different ballgame. You can't just look at past sales of an identical item because an identical item doesn't exist. Each order is unique. This makes forecasting much, much harder. You can't predict exactly what a customer will want to design. For customized products, the focus of forecasting shifts. Instead of predicting the sale of a specific finished good, companies might forecast the demand for the components that go into the custom products. For example, a custom PC builder might forecast how many of a certain type of graphics card they'll need over the next few months, or processor. The forecast is less about the final product and more about the building blocks. The cost of error here can be high. If you order the wrong expensive components, you could be stuck with them. Forecasting for custom goods is often less accurate and relies more on broader market trends and direct customer conversations. Forecasting cost and forecasting accuracy depend on the type of outputs. Standardized products with continuous demand require less costly forecasting methods, while customized products with high variety require highly accurate methods. Forecasting isn't a one-size-fits-all activity. The time frame you are trying to predict makes a big difference. We can break these down into 3 main horizons: short range, medium range, long range. Each one is used for different types of decisions within a business. Think of it like using different kinds of maps. Sometimes you need a detailed street map, and other times you need a map of the whole world. It all depends on where you are trying to go and how you plan to get there. First up is the short-range forecast. This usually covers a time period from today up to 1 year, but it's most often used for daily, weekly, and monthly planning. These forecasts are the most detailed and generally the most accurate. They deal with the nitty-gritty day-to-day operations of a business. A restaurant manager uses a short-range forecast to decide how many servers to schedule for the Friday night dinner rush. A grocery store uses it to figure out how much fresh bread to order for tomorrow. These decisions are immediate and tactical. Next, we have the medium-range forecast. This time horizon typically spans from 3 months to about 3 years. These forecasts are less about daily operations and more about tactical planning for the near future. They are not as detailed as short-range forecasts, but they guide some very important decisions. A car manufacturer might use it to determine its production rate for the next year. A retail company would use it to plan its budget and to plan its hiring needs for the upcoming holiday season. It's about getting the big pieces in place. Finally, we zoom all the way out to the long-range forecast. This covers a period of 3 years or more. These forecasts are broad, strategic, and much less certain. They deal with the big-picture questions about the future of the company. A technology company might use a long-range forecast to decide whether to invest billions of dollars in building a new factory. An energy company would use it to plan for new power plants that take a decade to build. These forecasts are about setting a direction for the entire organization for years to come. Products, just like people, have a life cycle. They are introduced, they grow in popularity, they reach maturity, they eventually decline. This is the product life cycle. Understanding where a product is in its life cycle is crucial. It dramatically changes how you forecast demand. Forecasting for new products is very different from forecasting for old, established products. The strategy has to evolve with the product. Let's start at the beginning, the introduction stage. Brand new product. Example, the very first smartphone. Example, a new electric scooter. No sales history. Zero, zilch, nada. So how do you forecast demand? You can't use historical data. Forecasting is tricky at this stage. Use market research. Use expert opinions. Use comparisons to similar past launches. Forecasts are highly uncertain, often an educated guess, hit or miss. Next comes the growth stage. If the product is a hit, sales take off. Sales grow rapidly as more people discover and buy it. Forecasting gets a little easier, but it's still challenging. You now have some sales data to work with. Rapid growth makes it hard to predict how steep the curve will be. The main goal is to keep up with explosive demand, ramp up production fast enough without overshooting the mark. Then the product reaches the maturity stage. Sales level off and become stable. The product is well established in the market. Think of products like Coca-Cola. Think of products like Tide laundry detergent. They've been around for a long time. Sales are predictable. This is the easiest stage for forecasting. Companies have years or decades of reliable data. Use sophisticated statistical models for accurate short and medium-term forecasts. Finally, in the decline stage, sales begin to fall. The product becomes outdated, or it's replaced by something new. Forecasting focuses on managing the decline, reducing inventory, deciding when to discontinue the product. Sometimes, the best way to predict the future is to ask people. That's the whole idea behind qualitative forecasting methods. These methods are used when you don't have a lot of historical data, like when you're launching a brand new product. They rely on human judgment, opinions, and expertise instead of pure numbers. While they might seem less scientific than number-crunching methods, they are incredibly valuable tools in a forecaster's toolbox. They provide insights that numbers alone can't always capture. Let's look at a few. One common method is called executive opinion. This is exactly what it sounds like. A company brings together its top managers and executives from different departments: sales, marketing, finance, production. They pool their experience, knowledge, and opinions to arrive at a single forecast. The advantage of this method is that it's quick and brings together a wide range of expertise from across the company. However, a major disadvantage is that the forecast can be heavily influenced by one or two people with strong personalities or by groupthink, where everyone agrees to avoid conflict. Another popular qualitative method is market research. This involves going directly to the source, the customers. Companies use surveys, focus groups, and interviews. They might ask questions like, how likely are you to buy this new smartphone in the next 6 months? The big advantage here is that you are getting information straight from the people who will be making the buying decisions. A disadvantage is that what people say they will do and what they actually do can be two very different things. It can also be expensive and time-consuming to conduct large-scale surveys. Finally, there's a fascinating technique called the Delphi method. This method tries to get the benefits of expert opinion while avoiding the problems of groupthink. It involves a panel of experts, but they all remain anonymous to each other. A facilitator sends a series of questionnaires to each expert. After each round, the facilitator summarizes the results and sends them back to the experts, who can then revise their forecasts. This process is repeated until a consensus is reached. The advantage is that it produces a well-thought-out, unbiased forecast. The disadvantage is that it can be a very slow and drawn-out process. When you have data, you should use it. That's the principle behind quantitative forecasting methods. These methods use mathematical models and historical data to predict future demand. If qualitative methods are the art of forecasting, quantitative methods are the science. They assume that the past can tell us something about the future. These methods are objective, based on numbers, and can be incredibly powerful when you have good, clean data to work with. There are two main families of quantitative methods: time series models, causal models. Time series models are the most common type. A time series is a set of data points collected over time. These models look for patterns in that data, trends, seasonal cycles, random fluctuations, and use them to project what will happen next. They are based on the idea that future demand is dependent on past demand. The other major family, causal models, also called associative or regression models. They operate on the idea that demand is related to other factors. For example, an ice cream company might link sales to temperature. If you can forecast the weather, you can forecast ice cream sales. Let's dive a little deeper. Time series models, because they are so widely used. Imagine you have a chart of your company's sales for the last 5 years. A time series analysis is like being a detective, looking for clues in that chart. One of the simplest methods is called a moving average. To get a 3-month moving average, you would simply take the sales from the last 3 months, add them up, and divide by 3. This helps to smooth out the random ups and downs and see the underlying pattern more clearly. For an easy example, a coffee shop sold 100, 110, and 120 cups. The 3-day moving average forecasts 110 for the next day. Then you slide the window forward as new data arrives. It's a simple way to use recent history to predict the immediate future. It's great for stable demand but doesn't react very quickly to big changes or trends. A slightly more sophisticated method is called exponential smoothing. This is like a moving average, but it gives more weight to the most recent data. What happened yesterday is probably a better predictor for tomorrow than what happened a month ago. It's still simple, more responsive than a simple moving average, and balances old information with new. Of course, time series models can get much more complex. They can identify and project long-term trends and seasonality, like the spike in toy sales every December. Advanced models decompose the data into components and reassemble them into a forecast. Quantitative methods are objective and consistent. However, they require good historical data and assume past patterns continue. Sudden events, like a new competitor, can make a purely quantitative forecast wrong. It is not about being perfect. No one can predict the future with 100% accuracy. Things can always change unexpectedly. A new trend might pop up, or an old one might fade away. The goal is to reduce the uncertainty. It's about replacing wild guesses with thoughtful predictions. This allows a company to plan its resources, its money, its people, and its materials much more effectively. It's science in action, helping businesses run smoother every single day. So we've journeyed through the world of demand forecasting. We've seen that it's much more than just gazing into a crystal ball. It is a critical business science. It's the process of making smart, data-informed predictions about what customers will want in the future. Being good at this isn't just a nice-to-have, it is essential for survival and success today. Accurate forecasting is the engine that drives efficient operations. Accurate forecasting drives smart financial planning. Accurate forecasting drives happy, loyal customers. It's a true business superpower. Think of all the dominoes that fall from a single forecast. A good forecast leads to efficient production schedules. It leads to optimized inventory levels. It prevents storing unsold goods and prevents lost sales from stockouts. This leads to better cash flow management and higher profitability. It lets companies be proactive, not reactive. Every department benefits: finance, marketing, operations. Ultimately, the biggest winner is the customer. So the next time you effortlessly find what you are looking for, remember the science of demand forecasting. It's science, and it's all around us.